We're going to take a look at the material usage and how PartNester is able to separate and organize our materials. So currently we have a job that is fairly simple, two nested sheets on a 3/4 inch plywood. Then we have some material here for 1/4 inch plywood. So it's automatically separated both materials in the job on two different categories. It might be the case that we have two different size materials. So by default, the material sizing that is being used is based on the settings that we've entered in. So currently we have 96/48. The depth is only when creating a new job and not importing products. So otherwise, the parts that are being imported are based on the depth that the import comes in from. So currently we only have 96/48, and that is the size of the material for the 3/4 inch plywood and for the 1/4 inch plywood. It might be the case that for 1/4 inch plywood, we do not have 4x8 sheets. We might have 5x5 sheets. So to set that and make that material used, or set this 3/4 inch plywood to be used at a different size, we need to add that into our material library. So I'm going to select the wording here and just do a Control-C, or I could have done a right-click copy. And that is just to make sure that I have the naming and wording spelt and entered in exactly as it's showing up on this list. We will then click the Material button. So currently I do have one other type of material that's entered in here. This must have been from another test, but I want to add in a material. So I'm going to just enter Control-V. I could have right-clicked and selected Paste. And so this is going to be for 1/4 inch plywood. I'm going to add that to the list, and it is already added to the one that was there. So I'm just going to remove that sheet and click Save. So currently that is still set at the 96/48. We could enter in 60 in the X and 60 in the Y and click Save, then Close. So now when we go to Renest, our 1/4 inch plywood should now be, and it is, on 60x60 inch material. We're also able to control different spacings in different aspects of the nest based on the material. So it could be for a 1/4 inch material, we're using a 1/4 inch cutter rather than a 3/8 or a 1/2 inch. So that means that this part spacing could be less on our 1/4 inch material. So again, going to click the Material button, using our drop-down list to select the 1/4 inch plywood, and I could enter in a new part spacing, and I am going to put in a part spacing of, I want it to be a little bit bigger than a 1/4 inch, so we could go I'm going to go 0.3 and make that settings change. When we close this nesting, material settings, and renest, the 1/4 inch plywood is now going to nest those tighter together. We also have the option to individually control how parts are rotated within the nesting based on the material. So for the 1/4 inch plywood, we may allow rotation for this particular material, but not for our other entered materials. So by allowing rotation here, if it sees a better fit when we go to renest, parts on that material are allowed to be rotated, and in this case it didn't prove that it's going to save any material for allowing rotation. If we do not want that material anymore, for example, I don't need that 3/4 inch material solid wood in there anymore, I'm going to come down and hit delete. That now removes that from the list, and I now only have 1/4 inch material. We also have the option to sort the nesting by our standard Nest settings, we could offset nest at different locations or corners based on different materials. We could also send out based on this drop-down list in our machine settings if we have different machines that handle our product differently. So it may be that for your 1/4 inch plywood, you're going out to a beam saw and all the other material is going out to a CNC router. We're able to separate the files and the data based on the setting that is in the drop-down box right here. That is it on the material settings and usage.